so it's not for kids.
All right.
Flawless. Oh, I've already cussed. Good job. Okay. We're doing a kid-friendly episode today, so...
Going to try to at least not mess it up.
Apologize.
It's supposed to be a family-friendly event. We aren't a family-friendly podcast.
We're going to try to be.
But we'll do our best.
Well, anyway, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. We're shelf-stable. Today, we have little bingo cards for you. Full disclosure, I think So Very Wrong About Games did this. I don't know if I came up with this on my own or if I had already seen this, but I was like, oh, no. We tend to repeat ourselves on this show. If we say something that matches one of the bingo things, you circle it. If you get a bingo, announce it, and you'll get a free game. Got Seven Wonders Duel and Village over here. Yeah, you didn't know you were going to get a free game today, maybe. Whoa. We didn't want to advertise that because we wanted people to only come for the podcast. You know?
Huge mistake.
We don't want all those like, oh, I'm just going to sit in to get the... Anyway.
All the draw we would have gone for telling people you can have a used copy of Village. I would have brought them all running.
Also, if this is your first show, Tom doesn't usually sound like this. For the listeners at home, he's wearing full Marge Simpson cosplay right now, and he's just really into the role. So, do you want to tell them what happened?
I seem to have laryngitis, I guess. Yeah. My vocal, they're fried, as you can hear.
It's the inevitable, I need to talk in front of a bunch of people. Let's have my voice disappear. So,
we're going to power through this, though.
We're going to power through it. Thank you for your courage, your bravery. Okay. Apart from your voice not existing, how's it been going for you overall, the con?
It's been great so far. I've gotten to check off pretty much everything that I had as a priority one.
Okay.
I think the only thing left is Ticket to Ride Markland, because they have that here, and I'm really interested.
Yeah, I told him, like, I'll play it with you if no one else wants to, but, like, what did I say?
It would drive, like, 5 hours just to play Ticket to Ride, like, baby's first game.
Yeah, maybe we could play Settlers of Catan after that.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I've been loving the con. SaltCON, shout out. It's been awesome. Games-wise, great. Played like a bajillion games. 80% of them have been Reiner Knizias that I haven't been able to play yet, so that's been awesome. Health-wise, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing myself justice. I had like the Flamin' Hot Munchies. I had that for breakfast. So then I asked Tom, like, could you get me some cereal? Yeah, I think that could improve. I think I'm running on 4 hours of sleep right now. So if the cast sounds a little bit more delusional or nonsensical than usual, that's why.
This is veering a little bit into the main topic, but in a way, you can, when you go to a con, you want to do I'll sleep when I'm dead lifestyle.
But do you? Well, we'll get into it in a second here. Welcome to Shelf Stable, a podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your host, Kenny Katayama.
And I'm your other host, Tom Bowers. Today, our feature topic is con maxing, or how to get the most out of your convention experience. But before we talk about that, let's talk about just some of the things we've been playing recently here at the con.
Tom, I got to play Res Arcana from 2019. I know we've talked about this one before on the cast. This might be the third time we talk about this on the cast. Is that a record?
Yeah, because you did it, and then I did it after I played it.
And now we're doing it again.
Yep.
So I was like, I should like this game. I don't, because I like engine builders, and I like Tom Lemann. This is published by Sandcastle, came out in 2019. Every time I'm like, this just doesn't click. It's a slog to play. And then we played it again, and I was like, still feel that way. I don't know. It's like, it's almost like I'm in like a weird Stockholm Syndrome relationship with this game, because I played it yesterday morning, and I was like, actually, yeah, I like it now. I like it. I think part of it was because of the drafting. So I finally got to do the drafting. It's like the fifth time I've played this game now, and I finally got to do the drafting because most people at the table knew how to play the game. And as I had suspected, the game is way more fun when you're actually able to synergize your cards. It turns out that when you get a bunch of random cards, sometimes people get better cards and sometimes people get not as good cards. So the draft mitigates a lot of that. I think about like terraforming Mars, right? Imagine going back to terraforming Mars and just drawing 10 cards off the top of the deck, and that's how you start the game. Anyway, not only would it be another extra hour of gameplay because things aren't clicking, but also, well, I don't know, because the draft takes time too. I was under the false assumption that the first time you play Res Arcana, when you're teaching it, you should avoid the draft because people don't know what to go for. But maybe that speaks to myself and what I think of others, because I'm like, people are too stupid to play the game with the draft or whatever. I take it back. Y'all are smart. Just play the game with the draft from the get-go. There's no reason to play it any other way. I think most people who play board games can go, oh, this thing works off of dragon icons. This card has a dragon icon. So like even if you can't figure out the nuance and value of each card, you can figure out that much. Long story short, Res Arcana, I thought it would be good. It was bad. And now it's good because of draft.
Do you think that could be like a blanket statement in general? Like if there's a draft variant, play the draft variant?
Oh, yeah,
because if the designer put it in there, they clearly discovered that and they were like, this slaps.
Maybe. Some games are so short that you don't need a draft. Or like Race for the Galaxy, I prefer not drafting the starting hand.
Does it have a draft?
There's a draft variant where you can draft the starting hand of cards, and that's also Tom Lemann. So, I don't know.
I think I'd prefer it that way myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's my recommended style for getting friends. Don't just grab random people at the game store. You should pick the one you want the most, and someone else can pick the other one.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, you can only ever be friends with one person, so
like couples are screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Res Arcana, 2019. Tom, what did you play?
Well, we're going all the way back to the 80s. Like, the Soviet Union's still intact. The Berlin Wall is still standing.
Are you going to do a whole BuzzFeed article? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah. And,
Jesus Christ.
I played Macher from 1986.
If you are wondering, is Tom rambling? I mean, you can already just circle that one. You don't have to wait for it.
It's like a free space. So this one's designed by Karl-Heinz Schmiel, and this edition that I played is published by Spielworxx. This is a legendary title.
It's like Marvel?
Yeah, like Marvel, legendary.
Yeah.
No,
what's it about?
Was it not famous for being like one of the number one Board Game Geek games for a long time?
It was top 10 when Board Game Geek started. Yeah, when the Geek rank started.
And
I think it was number 4 in 2001. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're like a Board Game Geek, if you've been on there a long time, you would know that when I tell you it's a game about German parliament and voting, it's not even really about parliament. It's just about elections. It'll be like, oh, I see why it was so high up for so long. Because like those early Board Game Geeksters, for whatever reason, they just loved crap like this. I personally feel like they weren't wrong. I think the game stands up to time. It feels old a little bit, but at the same time, something like this could come out today. I think they would have done more to like punch up the chaos factors. There's like these shadow cabinet politicians that you can send out to sabotage.
It's a fictional game.
Yeah, or change things. And I think that's like the most fun idea that the game has. And I think a modern design would probably do more with that. They'd have the shadow cabinet cards do more effects. They'd be zanier effects. I don't know. And it'd probably, start to take away from the actual idea of simulating German elections. For what it is, for where it's from, I really liked it personally. Once you've run through the system once, it doesn't take nearly as long as people kind of make it out to actually play the game. It looks like it's going to be dry, flat, heavy, long, boring, and it's really not. Especially if you already came in with experienced players, I could see people getting this knocked out in 80 minutes max.
No.
That's just me. I know you hated it, though.
Don't steal my thunder.
Can you tell the people why you hate democracy in board games?
No, the democracy's fine. This game was from the 80s, I'll just say that. I mean, if you compare it to other titles at the time, I think it's a step above, but it really does show its age. There's so many of these like fiddly bits that feel like they could have been cleaned up. And I mean, you know this, Tom, like I'm not a fan of Chrome.
What's Chrome?
Chrome, for those listening, is basically rules that are added to be thematic, but not necessarily to be streamlined. A good example is in Brass. You have like one connection in Brass Birmingham that is like a river, and that's because historically they weren't able to build a railway there. So a lot of other spots have either just rails or rails and a river. But there's just one spot, and you're like, why is this spot like this? And you look it up. Sometimes you'll just have a random rule in very historical, like war games. That's like, oh, if you're using the 3rd Battalion, then you can only roll 1 die, even though normally you can roll 2 because this particular battalion didn't know how to reload their guns or something. It feels like there's a lot of that in here. I'm generally not a fan of that. It's not that I think it's bad. I just am not the target audience. I appreciate it. I don't enjoy it personally. That would be my summary. It's way too long, and it has a lot of that Chrome.
You say it's way too long. I think that's on me because I definitely spent like the first hour reading the rules.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We forgot. Like the night before, he was like, "I got it. I learned Macher," and we get there, and he like opens the rule book, and he's like, "1 second." And it was like 2 hours of us, just like me and the other person who played. We just walked off and played another game in the time that he learned the rules. Came back and he was still learning it. And on top of that, he finally learns it. He's like, I'm ready. And he goes, so the way you want to play this game. And it was just like an excruciating mix of like him doing charades, croaking, and then typing on Google Translate like, then the next step that you do, you know, with like the robot voice. And it was a combination of those three. In and of itself, it was kind of like a limited communication game, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had to like interpret how to play this complicated German Euro.
I did not set myself up for success, I'll be honest with that one. I will say, though, that this is like a contender for being the type of game that, like, if you played it 100 times, Nick Bentley style.
Oh my God!
You know,
go ahead and circle it.
Yeah, classic. I have to bring him up. I think the texture of this game would absolutely evolve over time and get like really, really interesting to the point where like it would absolutely just feel like this political intrigue. Like every time you play, it feels like an episode of House of Cards before that show got canceled. So I'd like to play it again with someone who's like not a huge bummer, but
sorry.
But at the end of the day, I didn't set it up for success, admittedly.
Would you rather play Macher again or Monopoly again?
A Macher.
Okay.
Yeah, easy. Sorry, Monopoly. I know you're one of the best games of all time. Maybe even an A to your game. All right. Well, anyway, I'm not going to comment. 1986.
Yeah. Tom, we went over to a friend of a friend's house. We played a number of rounds of Tom's Sexy Dice game. And we got to play Cat Blues from 1998. I guess the version we played is a reprint. That's recent. But originally, Reiner Knizia made this in 98. This is a republished by Bitewing with a few adjustments as far as we could tell. Cat Blues is a shedding auction game.
It's almost like a trick-taking game in a way.
Thomas Bowers. What I mean by that is you have cards out that you want to get, and instead of bidding with money, you play runs and sets of cards from your hand, and whoever finishes by putting the biggest run or set out gets the cards. But then you just spent cards to get the cards. The way I compared it was like, it's kind of like you start with a paper clip and you try to upsell it until you get a car. And that car is a group of 4 of the same card. And basically you're trying to get 4 of the same card in every color. The more you get, the more points you get at the end of the game. I really enjoyed this. It was a little long, but the person who was teaching it was like, I've never had this game go so long. You two are so slow. And then he had to clarify, slow as in you take a lot of time. I'm not questioning your intelligence. And we were like, oh, thank you. That's so much better. I guess it's supposed to be a filler. It's like in a little box like this. It's a Knizia game. Yeah, like the box says like 30 minutes or something. But we were like, You were taking a long time too.
I was.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't like longer than others, but everybody at the table was like, do I play a 1 and a 2 or a 1 and a 2 and a 3? Let me think about this. And then we kind of
I was just going to give you crap because like definitely probably more than anyone else, you'd like put 2 cards down and be like, wait, actually, no. And 3 cards out. So it's like if you take 2 turns every turn, yeah, it's going to be a little longer.
It's true. I don't know. I had a lot of second guesses. I'm realizing this about myself ever since we talked about it. I'm like do-over city over here. And I didn't
do-over maxing.
I didn't realize that about myself, and I need to like do some self-reflection because I'm like complaining about everyone else, like, oh, people take so much time, or oh, people want to do the best turn and stuff. And I don't do that, but on the flip side, I'm like, oh, hey, actually, can I do my entire turnover? And actually, oh, now I win. And that's like the most infuriating thing when somebody like misplays, you allow them to take it back, and then they beat you. And I want to be a better person. So I'm here acknowledging I do a lot of takes these backsies, and feel free to call me out on it, and I'm going to try to be better about it, period.
I'm going to Analysis Paralysis Anonymous, and you're going to Takesies Backsies Anonymous.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're both going to work on ourselves.
That's good. Growth.
Cat Blues, I really enjoyed it. Is it Knizia's best game? No, because that's Be Alert. But no, I'm kidding. But it is like it was a solid title. The full disclaimer: there is one major rules change with the original. The original, you don't drop back up after you play cards, so you could just get stuck in a hole where you're like, oh my god, I can't do anything for like.
You can have literally
turns.
0 cards in hand.
You can have literally 0 cards in hand and not be able to do anything, and just like pass your turn. So I think it's a change for the better. I can't imagine playing it with the original rules.
Yeah. I liked this a lot. I really liked the idea they have to like give up a good hand to try and get a better hand, or even just to try and reshape your hand, and you're building towards something. Yeah, trading paper clips up to a car mechanic is really neat. I could see similar games maybe adding like individual card powers and stuff like that could really take this like in a more in even more interesting direction, and it ought to be having more of a moment considering how big like trick taking in general is right now. Yeah.
Don't
sleep on Cat Blues.
Yeah, Cat Blues, 1998. I don't know. It's like it's a Knizia game. It's got very little rules. It's very easy to teach. You're able to just kind of jump right into it, and it's got that little thing that Knizia likes to do. So,
yeah, the scoring was interesting too. You win by having like the most of these little tokens, but you get like a big bonus if you have the widest assortment of bonus tokens. And it turned out that big bonus was like worth it because you basically sabotaged 5 points for yourself to get 10 points, and it paid out, I guess.
Yep. That's Cat Blues.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about Letter Tycoon from 2015. It's designed by Brad Brooks and published by Breaking Games and Squirmy Beast Games. Letter Tycoon is a word-building game. You draw sets of letters from a central deck. There's a couple of letters in the middle as well. You're trying to build the longest word that you can on a given turn, and then the longer your word, the more money you get, which allows you to buy patents on letters. The patents award you $1 whenever an opponent, not yourself, uses that letter in the word in the future. As you can imagine, high-use letters like E are more expensive. And then there's like a couple of powers to some of the cards that change things up just a little bit. I had heard about this game for a long time, and it's in the play to win here at the con, so I thought I'd try it out. I didn't hate it, but I was mildly disappointed. it just felt like in general there wasn't all that much going on. You gave the perfect analogy, so I'm going to steal your line. You said it needed to be left in the oven a little longer. It's missing that like je ne sais quoi. That little bit of something like extra that makes it like more interesting and dynamic. The rules as I described it sound simple. It is. It's very fast and easy to teach, of course, but it just is like, it's like missing that extra something that like, it's like there's no edge to it. It's just like, you're just doing it, making words.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it was basically a cool idea. When people explain how the game works, you're like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then the letters that are more niche give you powers. But then you play it and you're like, this is fiddly. Oh, and this other thing's fiddly. And this doesn't actually pay off. And oh, this probably plays the same every time you play it. Like, as soon as you start playing it, it deflates. So I don't think it's bad. Like, there are games that we come out of like, that we're like, no. I think this one's still worth checking out if you're just interested by the premise, but like, I don't know.
It's almost worse than being a bad game is like being like an okay game.
Yes, yeah. That's a really interesting way to look at it. Like, a bad game you can talk about. I guess we're talking about this.
Yeah,
but,
well,
yeah.
This isn't going to become like a Bear Valley or a Killer Bunnies or like...
Yeah. We're not going to talk about Letter Tycoon next week.
Yeah. Like, I'll forget that I even played it probably in like 3 years and be like, oh,
yeah. If in a year somebody's like, have you played Letter Tycoon? I'd be like, is that Roller Coaster Tycoon, but with letters? Like,
I mean, I
was trying to come up with a bit there and it didn't come together, so that's how far I got.
If you have like someone in your life though that really likes like Scrabble, those types of things, and they really just enjoy like making words, this is probably like one I think is more approachable. But at the same time, I think of Paperback, and I feel like if you're looking for what Letter Tycoon promises, but want to actually have delivered that promise in your mind's eye, Paperback is like what I think Letter Tycoon was like what I thought it was.
Yeah, Paperback lets you put wild letters in, makes it a little bit more flexible. I feel like this game could have had those. Because otherwise it's a little too random.
And Paperback's a deck builder, so it's a different game, a little more complicated, but I think it's like Letter Tycoon. It sounds like you're going to build towards something and you're going to like, you know, try and leverage like, oh, do I buy the expensive letter or the cheap letter? But the decision points just aren't that interesting. So that's Letter Tycoon.
100 games to play before you die.
All right, so this is the part of the episode for new listeners where I talk about Kenny's list of the 100 games that you need to play before you turn 100 years old. Rip Jimmy Carter. He almost made it. He was on Through the Ages, you know, when they found him.
Yeah, he even had his SaltCON badge already. He was like ready to go. He was going to road trip it here.
It's too bad. But, you know, he might have gotten through this one because number 25 on the list, that's right, we're already in the first quartile of this list, is Magic Maze. Magic Maze from 2017. This is designed by Kasper Lapp and published by Sit Down Games. Kenny, why the heck is this on the list?
Tom, this would be a great game for you to play because you're not allowed to communicate with your voice. So you could play this and not be at a disadvantage.
Finally, a game for people with laryngitis.
Yeah. Can you imagine playing Sidereal Confluence today? I'll trade this. Oh, you already traded. Speaking of Sidereal Confluence, I saw somebody setting up Sidereal Confluence in the Quiet Rooms table. I mean, I don't know how familiar people are with Sidereal Confluence, but I cannot imagine a version of that.
It's trading, like trying to have the New York Stock Exchange in a library.
Yeah. Well, after this, let's play a game of Pit in the Quiet Rooms table. That was wild. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Magic Maze is our include on this list of 100 games for the real-time games, but specifically the real-time where you're racing against a clock and you have to do things as fast as you can. So it's cooperative, if you ever played something like Project Elite or Escape the Zombies or Escape the something else.
Escape from Atlantis.
Tier quality podcasting here. We know our stuff. Escape : something. These are games where you can do as many things as you want as long as you just do them against the clock. In Magic Maze, you got an hourglass that's going down, and the 4 of you have to coordinate moving these characters around. There's like 4 characters in a shopping mall. It's like a medieval fantasy shopping mall. There's like a dwarf, barbarian, and elf. This doesn't matter. Anyway, there's 4 fantasy characters. The really fun conceit is that you're in control of a power and a cardinal direction. Those are the only 2 things you can do. So I can only move left, and I can only move up, and I can only move down. And then you have to navigate these characters through this maze without communicating to each other the intent and which character you want to move. The only thing you have at your disposition is a giant pawn that you basically keep slamming in front of the person that's not doing what they're supposed to do. And that's it. It's beautiful. It's great. So you're sitting there, each on each side of the table, and somebody will go, boom, boom, boom. And the 3 people are aligned, and then they'll all look up at you. And you're like, oh, God, I need to do something. I don't understand what they're talking about. And they're still staring at you. And then they grab the pawn and they go, boom. And you're like, I know, it's me. And then they start going, bum, 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 bum. And they keep slamming it in front of you. And then they get more exasperated and they're like slamming the table. And they're like, they can't say what the thing is. And then you finally go, oh. And then you move something and they all go, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. It's great. It's a hoot. It's a little bit of a party trick, like after you've played it a couple times, I've been there, done that kind of thing. But for those times that you play it, it really, it's like instantly fun. That's a key to this list. But the other thing is it really translates what's fun about these type of games. Because with Escape, like obviously it's forgettable enough that I don't remember what the other half of the title is. But on top of that, like the first time you're like, I don't really get it. Oh, by the end of it, you start to figure it out, and it might have still been too stressful or just too boring, depending on which side of that scale you tip on. But like with Magic Maze, you're instantly like, either you're like, I get it and it's not for me, or you're like, I get it and that was really fun. So that's why it's here. So
we have limited communication on the list already. So why is this one on here exactly? What's different?
Specifically, it's not about the limited community. It's about the real-time acting together.
Oh, okay.
Or not even acting together. It's just the real-time gameplay, which I would like. There's different types of dexterity. I guess I would consider this dexterity, but it's not dexterity because you're trying to balance something. It's dexterity in that you're trying to act as quickly as possible. Yeah.
So like other games in this genre is like Space Alert.
Yeah, Space Alert.
Cadets, I think.
Space Cadets, Space Alert. Basically anything with space in the name.
Okay. Those real-time cooperatives, yeah.
Yeah. That was Magic Maze.
Kenny, I still haven't played this one.
Yeah, we can play it.
Anyway, sounds like perfect.
I'm not sure you would like it, but it'd be a good one with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it's great for families, too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Super great if you love being passive-aggressive.
Okay, Kenny, well, enough of that bull crap, whatever the heck you were just talking about. Magic Maze, real-time nonsense. I can't do the normal rambling segment right now because my voice is completely gone. So let's just get into the real meat and potatoes of this podcast, the part that people came, they drove all the way to the convention just to hear us yap about this, and that is Con Maxine. How do you get the most out of your board game convention experience? Kenny, do you have any good ideas for the lovely people out here?
Don't eat Flamin' Hot Cheetos for breakfast. That's it.
Tip
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. I also think like no whiskey for dinner into Flaming Hot Cheetos for breakfast. Probably a good idea.
Yeah, no abrasives in the throat. I was really thinking hard about how we want to approach this. And because like at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to say this and this and this. But the more I thought about it, I was like, this is a very one-dimensional, my perspective on cons approach to this. And then I doubled down, I 180'd and I was like, it really depends. do whatever you want, like whatever is the best for you, and follow your dreams. But that is also dumb. So now I'm somewhere in the middle where I was like, there are fundamental things that you should and shouldn't do that I think are safe enough to recommend, and that's what I'll be talking about at least.
Okay.
The first one is get some sleep. Which is funny because you started by saying don't get any sleep at all.
Well, yeah.
This is where I landed.
I think you have to know yourself. But for me, like I can do 1 or 2 nights in a row, maybe 4 hours of sleep. Maybe I score a nap somewhere in the middle of the day there and just go hard for a couple days. And then, like, lighten up, foot off the gas. I cannot do that for, like, 5 days in a row if it's a long convention like this. But if it's, like, a short weekend, like, I'll sacrifice a little bit of sleep just to get one extra Knizia game to the table.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. But, like, I don't recommend the, like, pull an all-nighter or, like, you're here to play games, don't miss out or whatever. But at the same time, I'm like... If you're doing your regular sleep schedule, you're probably going to miss out. I mean, you already paid for this, and this is like, you already dedicated time to this. The reason I say get some sleep is because I think some people are like, I'm just going to go all in, go nuts.
You really think people just aren't sleeping at all?
So here's the thing. In terms of enjoyment and in terms of how much time it takes for you to internalize rules or even just learn like the rules to teach or something, you're going to lose those hours just straight up. It's going to be a net zero. So... it might even be negative. So you need to be able to like, this extends to food too, but like you need to be able to sustain yourself to actually be able to appreciate and even be capable of playing the games. We're all gamers, right? If you don't have the resources to convert to victory points, then you won't be able to convert to victory points anymore. Has anybody done a game convention board game? Write it down.
Yeah,
write it down.
there we are.
TM, don't make it. We're gonna make it first.
What you're saying is don't push yourself to a point where you're like hallucinating the numbers on the dice.
Just pace yourself, I guess.
Yeah,
but not too much, because then you're not getting your full.
This is like the worst advice ever. Is like sacrifice your sleep, but like don't completely sacrifice your sleep, but like try.
Yeah, squeeze as much as you can without hurting yourself, basically.
But I think you're right. Like at the end of the day, like if you're not well rested and full, you're not going to want to sit down for 7 hours of hegemony. So, get that good night's sleep, get a good breakfast.
And the hegemony is going to last 7 hours.
Yeah, apparently. All right. Well, that advice is one thing. One advice that I think that you live by, probably more and better than I do, but this is a good idea, is like find the PDF for the rules of the games.
Like if you're learning Macher, for example.
Yeah. Read it. Like there's going to be downtime on the journey, whether you're driving or flying somewhere. I guess if it's in town, you're effed. What you should do is like read the rules at work. You're not doing anything at work anyway. If you have like a real job, then disregard this advice. I was talking about this. What they really need is like audiobooks for rules.
Yeah.
For accessibility. So I can be like, on like the machining line and just listening in phase 1 of, turn 2.
Would they also be describing the illustrations at that point?
Yeah, I guess so. They would be like, the board has a hexagonal shape.
Well, the good news is Macher doesn't have any pictures or anything. So you could just have an audiobook and it wouldn't be any different than seeing the board.
Macher's entire rule set is like, make number go up.
I think that's a really good one. Yeah, read the rules beforehand. If you like, and if you're like, I don't know where to find the rules, it is either on the BGG files for that particular BGG game listing, or you Google name of game PDF rules, and then it'll link you to either a database that collects a bunch of rules or to the game's website that has the link to the PDF. Like 90% of games you can get to via one of these two systems.
I will do a little bit of a counterpoint, though, which is, for me personally, I have a hard time really even absorbing the rules and being able to teach it unless I have the pieces in front of me, the physical rule book. I hate scrolling like around on my phone, like trying to read the corners of a PDF.
True.
It's very irritating. And so, like, if you're going to be like me and you're not going to do the work in advance, rather than tell your friends to meet you at 10 for a game where you've sat down reading the rule book at 9:30, you should be content, I'm talking to myself here, to excuse yourself from playing another game of Through the Desert and sit down all by yourself with the game you checked out from the convention library and set it up and read the rules. And then finally, when you're like, I've got this, then go get the players wanted sign if you don't already have your friend group on tap.
Yeah, this perfectly segues into my next one, so I'll go there. If there is a group, even your group, that is like, do you want to play this? We're really looking for someone else. Or you're like, or if you, this has happened before, you pass by a table and you're like, oh, I love this game. And they're like, would you be okay teaching it, or would you want to join us? It is perfectly okay to say no. Your time is limited here. Do the things that bring you joy. And people aren't going to hold it against you. I'm not saying that like be an asshole or be a jerk, but like do what makes sense for you, and people won't remember you anyway. So
you're just another face in the crowd.
You're just another number to them, another player to bring up their player.
They won't even know that you're like a world famous podcaster at all, you know?
Yeah.
They're lost.
They're like, oh, yeah, you, red player. Yeah, you had the red pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life is short. And cons are even shorter. So, you know, do what you want, except if it's us. If it's us, you should do whatever. Like, oh, can you please play this with me? Then you should do it. But we're the exception. Just to be clear.
Well,
did you have another one? Or did you want to counter-argue?
Yeah, so one thing that I did this convention that I haven't really done for once prior, but this is like the second, I guess, like really big convention that has like really big, nice library. I have a big backlog of games in my want to play. So I took the time, and I really wish someone could make like an app to do this. Maybe I should be the one to make the app. Like, took the time to look through the library of games on Board Game Geek, look through my want to play, and like just in a Google Doc write down every single game that the con had that I wanted to play. Once I had the list, then I could actually assign a number of priority to every game. Because, like, yeah, I put that game on my want to play because Grant Lyon made a video. I don't actually care that much about it anymore. But then other games have been in my want to play because, like, they're rare, hard to find, like Ticket to Ride Markland. And then it's, like, a pleasant surprise when it shows up on a convention list. And, you know, now I can make that priority one. And then if you have like a friend group, what I ended up doing, I made a spreadsheet, and shared this with the group in advance. And I was like, does anyone else want to like sign up sort of for any of these games? Like, you know, and created columns, have people pick seats, pick seats. I can't get that word out. Have them pick seats. It still didn't come out.
Have them pixies.
Have them pixies. Ever listen to the Pixies? And I feel like that just like lubricates the
your throat.
Yeah, I wish the experience. It just like gets more games to the table sooner because you came in kind of knowing what you want to play. That said, you need to be flexible because like, yeah, you want to play a bunch of games. So does everyone else, right? So
that is a good point. Remember, there's like social collateral. I did say, play what you got to do what your thing. But if you're like, oh, no, I don't want to play your game. We're doing this thing every time. And you came with like one other person and they're like, I would really like to pick the game for once. That's a little different story, I guess.
You might have to go off by yourself and find strangers at the con.
Yes. Like find others. Yes. Force somebody to only do your things. Well, then they're not going to be able to do their things. And then if everybody followed this instruction, then everybody would just be yelling at each other and not playing games. So I don't know. Like I do think sometimes you need to be willing to play a game that you're still interested in, that is not your top, so that someone else can play their top. And it is an exchange of sorts. Again, unless you're us two.
And why are you in this if not for the other people playing, really?
Yeah.
If you are in this just for like playing games, there's a lot of great solos out there.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all about friends. It's all about family.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so special.
It's about family, yeah.
That was an obscure reference, by the way, if you're doing the bingo card.
We got a bingo.
We got a bingo.
Wow. Of course, it's Cammy. She
Congratulations, Cammy.
Doesn't win.
You win even when it's a random game.
Oh,
another bingo.
Okay, awesome.
Congratulations.
Hooray.
Did you already have it, or you just got it at the same time? Okay.
What was the one that gave you the bingo?
It was obscure reference, probably. That was yours? Okay.
It's a real band.
Yeah.
I saw him live. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll reconcile it after. We'll do a tiebreaker. Whoever cooks the best chopin kebab will win.
The Pixies, they did the song "Where's My Mind," right? Am I remembering right?
They did All Star.
Oh.
Do you have another one? I have another one. Okay. By the way, before we get away from the spreadsheet, just kudos. That spreadsheet is fire. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, he even did like an algorithm to calculate how desirable a game is based on what we prioritized it and averaged it, and then factored in a weight for like the play time and how many players it could put in. We argued about what the value should be for those weights and stuff, but like it like all worked and stuff. It's nice. And we were able to like really like, we looked at the list and we're like, these are the games we should play first, you know? It was good.
This is another thing too, where if you have like one of those office jobs where you really can get away with stuff, it looks really good to be working on a spreadsheet. Because like no one's going to walk past your desk and be like, hey, get back to work, Judson.
Okay, so at the same time as we start our business of rulebook audiobooks, we'll also do rulebooks that were retooled to look like spreadsheets or official documents so you can read them at work and not get in trouble.
Yeah, they look like manufacturing like instructions.
Yes, the specifications for Cosmic Frog.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just the latest generative AI thing. One I had on my list was take advantage of the library. There's a bunch of games that you could play that maybe you're thinking about playing. I ended up, like, remember when I said I was like thinking about whether or not it should be my perspective? This ended up going in the my perspective section because I realized that not everybody goes to a con to go nuts with games that they haven't gotten to play. But yeah, if one of the big things you're looking for is like, let's broaden our horizons. You know, I was just talking with someone earlier today and like, I just love reading rule books. If your idea of a good time is coming to a convention and reading a bunch of rules and not even playing the games and going home happy, then by all means use the game library that's available. But I kind of took this one back because I realized like not everybody is a pervert like me. Like sometimes you just want to bring the games that you love and play them with the friends that you haven't seen for a whole year.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other side of it too, in a sense. Like sometimes like the convention's the place to get that game to the table that your friends always say, like, I wish we had time to play it. Well, now you do. Like, you know.
Sometimes you just want to play Sidereal Confluence in the quiet room.
Yeah. Get up 8 a.m., start getting it set up. When your friends finally get out of bed at 10, it'll already be ready. Just don't make it be D-Macher, I guess. Okay. So we debated back and forth whether we wanted to do this, but my thought was, y'all are here, y'all are awesome. Maybe like a sort of a Q&A if you have like a question, or if you have your own advice that you want to give that's part of this topic. Does anyone have something? Just show of hands. You got one? Okay, let me see if I can bring this to you.
My name's Taylor.
Hi, Taylor. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask how doing the podcast about shelf-stable only games affects your hype for playing new games at a con.
At a con specifically, like in general, we're like, oh, we can't talk about that. So like in general, we're like less interested in the new stuff. At the con though, we kind of went nuts. It was like a large portion was new games.
Yeah, new game alert, but like we've been playing a lot of stuff that came out just last year that I personally really liked. The Gang, is easily one of the best new games that we've been playing. We know we're not supposed to do this, but we're here at a con, so and maybe we cut this all out. And another one that Kenny really liked and I like too is Fishing for Freedom and Freeze. It's a good one.
Yeah, like to answer the question more specifically, I think we still think about it in terms of like what are the games in the games library that we can play that meet our criteria, and how can we make sure we get that Macher in and things like that. But it doesn't stop us from playing the new games. I mean, we're human, we get excited by shiny things, and here's an opportunity to try the shiny thing, especially because we took a New Year's oath that we're not going to buy any of these. It's like, let's play them so we don't get in trouble buying them, kind of thing. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to play a lot of the new stuff so I don't have to buy it and still get to experience it while it's here.
I don't have a question. I just kind of have advice. I think it's really fun to go through events before the con too, like as well as the game library, because usually I go with my sister and we are constantly paying attention to the events. But there are a lot of interesting things that you might not even think about doing were it not a specific event. I didn't know such a thing as a puzzle hunt existed, and I very much like doing those. But also there are other crazy things last con I went to, I won a tournament for a game I've never played before, which is just kind of a really fun experience. And we've done other things played in an RPG where we're all sad vampire boyfriends, and there's just you find the craziest things that you would never have come up with, and I think that's kind of a really fun part as well, and I think you can kind of combine that with your game library stuff too, if you want. So
yeah, I'm glad you said this because I almost forgot. Be open to new experiences for sure is huge advice, because I've had some awesome events that I just wandered into, and they were a great time. I have had duds. But those become stories. If you walk into an event and it's this was cringe, it was so frustrating and irritating, then it becomes a story. Also, unless somehow you legally can't, just walk away if it sucks. If you're in 2 rooms in a boom and you're this is lame, none of my friends are here and I forgot that this game's not good anyway, you should just walk out.
I like 2 rooms in a boom. Yeah, I appreciate you really bringing that up because, I think it goes as a larger thing. There's all kinds of things happening at a con, whether it be types of games or different events, or even just the flea market, the math trade, the vendor booths. Don't go into it with a very set perspective of this is the one thing that I am doing, or even this is one thing everyone should be doing. I think that's just flawed to begin with. Be open to the experiences, find the experiences that you like the most and lean into them. But really, there's so many cool things happening. I think Tom and I have been fortunate to get in on a lot of them, but I know in the past we've been we just got to play games. And so I think we've had a better experience at this one than some of the ones where we really kind of got a little tunnel vision. So thanks.
So this kind of segues perfectly into what I was going to ask. So far, I mean, we're only in Saturday morning-ish, but so far, what has your been most favorite event, or not just necessarily game, but something that you're I wasn't expecting this, and it can either be an event or even outside of the convention, but something you're I'm going to remember this. This is something I get to walk away with, a memory.
The friendships and all the fun. Just kidding, you're all numbers to me to increase the player count. I really, really enjoyed the game of Werewolf that I played last night at 3 a.m. And I didn't think I would like it as much, but it was a hoot. I think this is very corny, but the people make it all, And I hadn't played Werewolf in 500 years, but it was very much with the right group, it was this is a lot of fun. So, did you have one?
No, I was just going to say that's like wild to me because just the other night you were saying like Blood on the Clock Tower is a werewolf killer, I think.
Yeah, I take it back. I think they're different enough, so I'll swallow my words and basically say Blood on the Clock Tower is for people who are like, I'm interested in the mechanisms and I'm trying to figure out if this person's wearing a red shirt, then they can't be sitting next to the person with the yellow shirt. Whereas werewolf is like pure social deduction with player elimination.
Werewolf, certified shelf stable, I guess. It's a really good question, and on the spot, I cannot tell you, what's like the everlasting memory. Probably recording this pod, I won't be surprised if like a year from now, we're at the con again, and we're already done with the podcast. I don't know. It's been going really well.
You mean we're at the con and they have to do 2 rooms?
Right.
Because they can't fit all the people in it. What are you talking about? We're not going to do this in a year.
I mean, I've really been enjoying recording the podcast. I just am like, we could run out of steam. Life could change. Kenny could have a second kid. I don't know what happens, Life comes at you fast, right? Like, who knows where it'll be. But if we're still here doing this next time, it'll be awesome. It'll be cool to look back that, like, this was, like the first time we did it at a con. Hopefully it's even better next time.
And the irony of losing your voice right before.
Yeah, the irony. And next time I'll know, to not, like, I guess dehydrate my throat or something. I think we're almost out of time anyway, so...
Really appreciate everybody coming. Where can you find our podcast?
About to do. Thanks,
we're going to do it now.
Thanks for stepping on my
Thank
line,
you.
audience member. Thank you, everybody who came to the live show. You've been awesome, especially you two. It's like, it's like, of course they show up, right? So we love.
They're contractually obligated.
Yeah, exactly. I love the fact that new people showed up, and that you won a game. That's great. Thank you out there if you're listening to this live episode. Sorry about my voice. It happens sometimes. Hopefully it won't happen again. Thank you for listening. Thank you especially to Michael, Tyler, Devon, and Josh of the Boise RainBeaus. And thank you to Bonehouse for letting us use their song Rot as our opening theme.
If you're loving the cast, share it with a friend or on Reddit or on BGG. It's the best thing that you can do to help us grow. And if you'd like to reach out directly to us, send us an email at shelfstablecast@gmail.com. All this is going to be in the show notes. Do you know which one of these you want to do next week?
All right, Kenny, I think next week we're going to talk about it. We're going to really dive into the age-old question. Are cozy games a thing? Can a game be cozy?
The age-old question, like cozy for board games didn't exist like a year ago.
Yeah.
The age-old question.
What even is cozy? What does it mean?
Cozy means like warm. Thanks, everyone.
All right.